You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the December 2024 regular council meeting for the Municipality of Eastern Charlotte. I'm Florence Mitchell. In today's meeting, council will discuss the designation of a new private road, a human resource policy update, a proposed dog control bylaw, year-end finance transfers, and terms of reference for the St. George Beautification Committee. Now let's join council at Macadavic Place in St. George.
To order here at 7 o'clock at the Macadavic Place, St. George. Good evening and welcome to the December 2024 regular council meeting of the Eastern Charlotte Council. This is our 23rd official council meeting for Eastern Charlotte. We have 17 more to go until the end of this council's term. And I will say one thing tonight, and I know it's kind of dangerous to say it, but Merry Christmas, everybody, in case I forget to do that later. I welcome all those that are attending here tonight and those that are watching us on their television or cell phone or computer. I wish to welcome and thank CHCO for being here tonight. Florence Mitchell is in the back, and our star, the star of CHCO, she's doing the camera tonight, Vicki Hogarth. So thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. What I do at this point, I need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight. Councilor McQuarrie, I saw your hand first. Councilor McKay, I saw you for the seconding it. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. That brings us to number 3, conflict of interest disclosure. This is your opportunity to declare conflict of any item on the agenda tonight. If there's not, I'll move on to 4 delegations. 4A is the presentation of the financial audit report for Eastern Charlotte. And I will look for Teed Saunders Doyle tonight. You have the floor tonight.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. My name is Andrew Logan. I've been here before a few times. We were the auditors for the predecessor municipalities, as most of you probably recall. This will be our first audit report for Eastern Charlotte. And so it's a little late in the year to be doing this. It is December, and these are the 2023 results that we're talking about this evening. I think with amalgamation and a few other things that occurred during the year in terms of the accounting reporting has pushed us to this point in the year. But no reflection on the quality or the issues or any issues we found during our audit, and I'll speak to that in a few minutes. So tonight, I plan to talk about 2 things. One, I want to talk about our audit, what we did, what we found, and the results thereof. And then secondly, I'll offer some brief comments on the financial results for 2023. Being the first year for Eastern Charlotte, there are some transitional items in here that probably are worth just mentioning. So as you know, as auditors, we have basically 2 main jobs to perform. One is to make sure that these financial statements are presented in accordance with the proper accounting standards. So there are rules that govern the disclosure, there are rules that govern what you see in here. And the financial statements are a bit of a beast. They're, I think, 39 pages long. I'll focus on 2 pages only tonight, unless anybody wants to spend more time. I highly doubt it.
Oh, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
Brief is what I'd like to be. The other thing is that we do is also to make sure there are no material errors or mistakes in these financial statements. All right, so we want to make sure that they're true and correct. And when we sign our audit report, that tells the reader or the stakeholder or whoever's looking at these statements that we've found no problems. And so on page 1 of the package is our independent auditor's report. And really the main focus should be on the very first paragraph that's labeled opinion. And I'm pleased to say, based on the results that we did, the work that we did, the testing, all of the evidence that we reviewed, the policies, the procedures that we reviewed, we found no material errors or issues within the accounting system or financial system, and that these financial statements are true and correct on a material basis. And so we will be signing the report and issuing a clean audit opinion, which is obviously, as council members, what you want to see and hear from your auditors. I will point out that the financial statements are not our responsibility. That is the responsibility of council. And council downloads or passes that responsibility or to management and also to the accounting department and the finance department within the town. They hire auditors at the end of the year to come in and do checking and do the things that I mentioned in my previous words. The accounting systems here in Eastern Charlotte are strong, are good. We've found no issues in any of the predecessor municipalities that we've audited, and it's been a few years now, I think well, at least 5, maybe 10. It's been a long time. The town also hires some outside expertise. Mr. Porter from St. Stephen has helped several municipalities and regional service commissions in the area and has some really in-depth knowledge on the standards and the rules governing municipal financial reporting. We're always glad to see his involvement. He brings a level of expertise that a lot of smaller towns cannot afford. So having him as your consultant makes the auditors happy. So that's it for the audit report. In terms of the financial results, I think there are only 2 main pages that I wanted to chat about. The first one is found on page 3. This is what we call the statement of operations, or an income statement, statement of revenues, expenses, has many different names. But essentially it shows the revenues that came in to Eastern Charlotte during the year and the money that went out to fund operational activities. Now, this being the first year, we're only seeing a budget column and an actual result column. Next year, we'll have obviously a comparative year to look at. I think the major takeaways from this page are twofold. On the revenue side, we see that our revenues exceeded our budget by a fairly significant amount, about $1.8 million more than budgeted. There are 2 main reasons for that. One is to do with the transition and the amalgamation of Blex Harbor and the local service districts in St. George. Any real estate assets that were part of that amalgamation are accounted for as revenue of the new entity. All right, and you see a line there called unconditional transfers from other governments, a little over $1 million. That represents the value of the real estate assets and other equipment assets that came into the newly formed Eastern Charlotte. That's how it's accounted for. So obviously an unbudgeted revenue line item. The other major one, and you'll see this quite often, is down below a thing called conditional transfers from other governments. So that's about $537,000 last year versus a budget of $30,000. Those generally represent funds that come from various departments, whether it's federal government or provincial government, and are not generally budgeted because they're likely a flow-through. So gas tax is one. The Canadian Cultural Foundation Fund is another one. The province actually funded about $170,000 last year in 2003 for amalgamation activities, which is all money that's generally not budgeted for and awarded and granted in year. So that's why we see these major variances. So about 1.6 million of the revenue variances related to those 2 items. There's also some other smaller items in there, sale of assets that can give rise to gains and things of that nature. Down below under expenditures, and this is actually quite remarkable. I was looking at this earlier today with Megan when we were making our notes for the meeting tonight. If we look at the total budget versus actual expenses, the difference year over year was just a little bit over 1%, which when you think about it, a brand new entity the size of Eastern Charlotte, to hit the budget with just a 1% variance is quite good, in my opinion. There's variances within the expense categories, and they all have a specific reason, but overall, we had planned to spend $7.6 million on activities, and we came in at 7.677, so $77,000 over budget on a $7.7 million planning spend is quite remarkable. So that's it for the income statement. The next page, which will be the last statement I talk about, is what we call the statement of financial position. It's somewhat like a balance sheet. Anybody that owns or runs a business or has read financials would be familiar with that term. But the statement of financial position basically shows our financial assets against our financial liabilities. So those are, financial assets are things that are cash or near cash, like bank accounts, accounts receivable, those types of things. And a lot of these components are very similar to what you would have seen in the predecessor municipalities. I think one of the key takeaways for this page, you'll see it right in the center. They're called net assets or net debt. This year, Eastern Charlotte finished with a positive balance of net assets of almost $600,000. And that's a very strong financial position. Essentially what that means is that if you collected all your receivables, cashed in all your investments, turned it all into money, paid off all your liabilities, there would be a positive surplus of $600,000. So that speaks to being in a healthy financial position. Down below that, the non-financial assets are things like buildings and fire trucks and plows and equipment and things. And you can see We've got a little over $42 million in tangible capital assets that we've spent over the years. And we've taken depreciation on those assets of about 24, leaving undepreciated value of about 17.6 million. There are some other non-financial assets like inventory, some land that we're holding for resale, and some smaller amounts. So at the end of the year, our accumulated surplus for Eastern Charlotte is $18.5 million. And I get asked a lot at council meetings, what does that mean? Essentially, a surplus for a town would represent funds that have been spent on infrastructure, on assets, and other things that have not yet been consumed in normal operations of municipality. So the biggest one obviously is the net book value of your tangible capital assets. So buildings, trucks, equipment, things that you've bought and spent but haven't been consumed yet in their useful life. There's also some other things, some cash and receivables and investments and those things that we've mentioned previously, but essentially that's what it means. The town is also sitting on some reserves that have been brought forward, and it's always good to see financial reserves set aside for future spending, whether it's capital or operational, but again, a very healthy position. So to sum up, clean audit opinion, strong financial systems here. I think we had one recommendation in all of our work around credit card expenditure limits and those things, just some best practices that we see in the other municipalities we audit. And financially, a good year, strong year, close to budget, and generated a surplus for the year. That's basically all I have. If there are any questions.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go to council at this point and see if we have any questions of council. Hard to question a good report, isn't it? Thank you very much for coming in. Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Right on. Thank you. Okay, at this point, council, I'll entertain a motion to accept the 2023 financial audit report for Eastern Charlotte as prepared by T. Saunders Doyle. Councillor Tidd, seconded by Councillor Lee. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, and it's passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, at this point, we're number 5, the adoption of minutes. I'm going to go to Councillor Lee on this.
So I move to approve the minutes for all of the previous council meetings written on this agenda.
We have a motion on the floor to approve all the minutes of the previous council meetings. Councillor Tidd, do you want to second that? Good. Question or comment on that? Question, Councillor Dedirakis, you're first.
I guess like when reviewing the minutes, I noticed something, and I brought it up before, is that the minutes are just not consistent. So for example, for the first item on the agenda for October 16th, where there was like a discussion of the four-way stop on Main Street, Mount Pleasant, and Latite. We captured the explanation from one councillor, but we didn't capture the explanation from other councillors. So I would like if we're going to do the minutes for them to be consistent.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, and that is passed unanimously. Okay, that brings us up to number 5, business arising out of the minutes. There are none tonight. 7 is department reports. We have 7A, B, C, general government report. I'm going to Jason Gadet for his report tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. So general government report, we do have a general government report for October, which as council has. I'll review the general government report for November. November's report, water and wastewater for Black Arbor. Connors Brothers rescheduled the clean of its water reservoir from mid-November to the first week of December. Once completed, municipal staff will monitor results, engage in winter flushing if need be. The municipal reservoir is being scheduled for early 2025. Online monitoring equipment is being installed and should be active by year end. We are working with CBCL on reviewing the need for additional flushing hydrants as well as a couple more sanitary manholes. within Black Arbor. Water and wastewater for St. George, water turbidity meter has been ordered, and looking at a flush-in hydrant for the end of Clint Street and Berry Lane. Finance, the preparation of the financial statements for 2023 is tentatively scheduled, as we know, tonight. Financial staff has continued to work through the request relating to the audit as well as the 2025 budget. Signage, fire hall signage has been installed, and signage for the municipal buildings is expected. We've had some delay on that. I think there's been some email issues we've just realized today with the provider, so we're working through that to make sure those signage for the municipal buildings get done as well. Roads, municipality continues to communicate with the Department of Transportation on the closure of the Upper Bridge in St. George. A letter from the municipality has been sent to the Minister of Transportation. We are gathering quotes as part of the 5-year capital planning and relating to the upcoming approval of the gas tax plan for Eastern Charlotte. That should come in, we're hoping in Q1 of next year. Parks and Recreation Admin, we will be completing reviews of current active license of occupations within the municipal buildings. Additionally, the call for proposals for Canal Beach will be going out in the new year for the canteen. Despite the changes en route due to the bridge closure, the Santa Claus Parade in St. George was well received and greatly attended. Repairs are underway at the Adventure Lane bandstand gazebo. The generators are expected to be ready at the municipal office and Davis Place by the end of this year. Housing and Development, a building permit has been issued for Project Village, their project at the former 260 building blocks. Discussion continues with the developer for the New Brunswick Street apartment building. The Hollows Golf Course housing project is progressing, and there will be a need for establishing a private road. I think that's on council's agenda for tonight. Sidewalks, disappointingly, Galbraith Construction has responded they're unable to complete the crosswalk improvements that we had scheduled for Mount Pleasant this year. We are sourcing another installer. However, unfortunately, work will have to be moved to 2025. This work will be done in conjunction with the crosswalk improvements at the mall area as well as throughout St. George. The YMCA is still awaiting quotes from local builders, and YMCA is going back to Dillon for the detailed construction plans. I guess just an update on that. They're working still with Dillon to try to formulate some sort of a construction plans. I'll be talking with Adrian tomorrow. I think right now Dillon is quoting in excess of $200,000 to get these plans. So I've yet to talk to the YMCA since that news has come about, but just kind of wondering, what we're actually going to get for that amount of money, or what the YMCA is going to get for that amount of money, and is this also part of more of a project management that we're going to get from Dillon? So, fire, additional reporting with the fire underwriters for the new Eastern Charlotte Fire Underwriters Report for 2025, working with them. A single dispatch channel should be in place for the new year. Currently, right now, their dispatch is still with the old 3 fire departments. 2 additional air packs, part of the previous approved borrowing, have been ordered. The policy will be drafted for non-emergency use of equipment in the new year. Tenders, a tender RFP is active for janitorial services for the municipal office at Macadavic Place, which closes on Friday. And we're also wrapping up quotations for desludging of the Black Arbor lagoons. For the holidays, the municipal office will be closed from the afternoon of December 24th to January the 2nd. Residents can still contact the office and myself or the after-hours public works emergency line. There is a number when you do call the town office during those time periods for any after-hours emergencies if residents need be. And that's the general government report.
Great, thank you, Jason. Any questions or comments? Councilor Dedirakis, you're first.
Yeah, I have a question. It's about childcare, and it's for our CAO. So, given that we have been waiting months at a time for Dillon to report back to us, and given that it's going to cost for the YMCA to pay about $200,000, give or take at this moment, is it possible for the municipality to put out a tender for building plans for a more detailed construction, and then the YMCA puts that bill, and then we could have a more reasonable, quote?
So right now, the Dillon is really, they're hired by the YMCA. So if we were to put a tender out, we would be the ones hiring. Not to say that we can't make up some sort of an agreement with them to do something like that. I guess my only concern would be, they're well in the process now and finding another firm that can actually come in and do that. we're probably starting from scratch. I mean, engineering companies, everyone just seems to be over capacity, and I don't know if their deliverable time period would be anything better than what Dillon would be right now. So that would be my only concern, just starting it out over again. I think, hopefully before the Christmas break, we'll maybe get something a little bit more firm with Dillon to say what kind of an ETA we're looking for that. Because really, we need to get that to get the proper quotes instead of just some sort of ranges. But a lot of that work was already done, so I don't believe that it should take that long myself. I mean, again, a lot of this is surprising, especially the cost of it being over $200,000. That's a surprise for me. It's pretty expensive. But so I'm waiting to hear back from, I think I'm talking with Adrian tomorrow with the YMCA, and hopefully for the Christmas break we should get some ETA. But I think if Dillon comes back and they're giving us something like July, they're giving us some really long timelines, then I think we have to re-examine either going to a different firm. That may have to be something that the Y may lead itself, but maybe it's just the fact that firm is just doesn't have the capacity. Maybe they've had some turnover. Maybe there's a lot of things going on that we may just have to accept the facts and have to go find somebody else. But so I think maybe over the next week we should have a better understanding. So.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Hatt, you're next.
Yeah, so this is the same company that came out at $2.some million. We asked them to go back to the table. $1 million gets shaved off the project. Snap your fingers, within a month it comes back again. I mean, it's not something new, but it seems funny that the building prints now are going to be $200,000 after they shaved $1 million off the project. Myself, I'm starting to lose hope as a councillor with it. It's been a year since we've kicked this off. I know most of us want to see something here, and my God, I had hoped that before we're off council, we could see at least a shovel on the ground. So.
Any other questions or comments from council? If not, we move on to the Service Commission. Anybody from the Service Commission? No, nobody's here tonight. Do you want to give that one? Jeez.
I can cover that. Thank you, Your Worship. So building and planning and enforcement, I think Alex actually was going to be coming a little bit later, so he may show up, but we'll go ahead. So the rezoning bylaw 20 Pen 01002 in the planning report to council for the proposed stationary food truck commercial use along Route 176 in Penfield, included with this report. So that is basically the report there. Oh, there's Alex there too. I don't know if Alex wants to.
Okay, Alex, would you like
Alex,
to?
you wanna,
would you want to? Yeah, you got the floor.
Doesn't get a chance to take his jacket off.
Forget the first 2 minutes of what he just said, and just continue on.
Sorry about that, all. Yeah, so just carrying on there. There was a temporary use authorization to give time for that rezoning. So that process will take a few months to unfold, but everything's good on that use continuing. PRAC also approved a private right-of-way at the November meeting. So this is a new lot that was created off of Mountain Road, Paul Savoy's property. Year to date, there's been 98 building or demolition permits, development permits processed, and 16 in last month. There's been 15 variances or terms and conditions applications, and 2 of these were approved in the last month. There's been 24 subdivision plans approved year to date, with 45 new building lots approved. There's been 3 new subdivision plans approved in the last month. There's no new zoning confirmation letters, deeds or exemption documents, or sign permits. But there has been 5 new homes in the last month report period. So 24 new homes year to date, which is a great number. There's 54 open enforcement files. We have closed 61, and we've had 4 closed enforcement files in the last month. So some progress is made there. So that concludes my report.
Great, thank you very much, Alex. Any questions or comments from council? Not, thank you very much for coming in. Merry
Thanks.
Christmas. Merry Christmas. That brings us to our fire report, Councillor Thompson.
I submit the report for November 2024 is written.
Gotcha. I just want to say one thing before we go on about the fire department. I want to recognize members of the Eastern Charlotte Fire and Rescue tonight. Under the leadership of Chief Johnson, Battalion Chief Lawrence Justison, District Chief John Stevens, District Chief Steve Leland, District Chief Greg Fleming, I think Greg's here tonight, Captain David Kernathan, Captain Scott Dugan, Captain Larry Boudreau, Captain Dwayne Richardson, Captain Matt Wolf, Captain John Calder, Lieutenant Dexter Hanley. We, as a community, are very fortunate to have a group of volunteers that give every day of the year to all our residents in the other communities of Charlotte County. I want to congratulate tonight firefighter Kevin Markey for 20 years of exemplary service tonight. I want to congratulate firefighter and paramedic Glenn Cox for 25 years of exemplary service. I want to congratulate firefighter Clifford Paul for 30 years of exemplary service. I want to congratulate District Chief John Stevens, 40 years of exemplary service for the fire service in Eastern Charlotte. I wish to congratulate firefighter Eric Banks, 40 years of exemplary service to the fire service. And lastly, I want to congratulate and personally thank Battalion Chief Jason Hatt for 35 years service. Jason retired from the fire service in September. And Chief Hatt, on behalf of myself and council, we thank you for your unwavering dedication to Fundy Bay Fire Department and the Eastern Charlotte Fire and Rescue these last 35 years. I also thank you for your leadership during the transition of bringing all the Eastern Charlotte Fire Departments into one united fire department, which is now called Eastern Charlotte Fire and Rescue. Your advice, your guidance, and direction during this monumental change will never be forgotten. You always will be considered one of the most respected leaders of the fire service. And I thank you very much. I'm going to move on to the Public Works report, and I'll call on Councilor McQuarrie.
I submit that the reports for Black Harbor and St. George for the months of October and November be as written.
Great, thank you, Councilor McQuarrie. I want to take this opportunity to say that our Public Works crews do an exceptional job for us. These guys have to be on standby and ready to go at all hours, 7 days a week this time of year. And under the leadership of Ricky Levitt and Ron Groom, with the storms we've had so far and getting the communities decorated for the festive season, these guys deserve our credit. They have many, many duties, and they have not once failed their duty of care to maintain sidewalks and roads during recent storms. I want to thank you to Norman Lambert, Neil Leakfold, Frank Richard, Jamie Melanson, Chris Lord, Drew Berrio, Adam Guthrie, Cody McDonald, David Kernathan, and Pete LeBlanc, all members of the Eastern Charlotte Public Works. So thank you, guys. I'll go to 7E, which is our Parks and Recreation report, and I'll go to Councilor Hatt.
Motion that we accept the reports that are presented to council here for the months of October and November.
Great, thank you. Any other committee reports, 7F? None? Number 8, financial statement. I'm looking for a motion tonight to accept the financial reports for October and November 2024. Councilor Thompson, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Question or comment on the motion? Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Some things to point out. Since we are in budget talks at the moment, for example, so it's under 3560, it's for medical clinics. So it's for office rent, miscellaneous doctor expense, and insurance. This is an item that is currently just being paid for by the former town of St. George. And this is something that I wish council to really consider as a shared expense in the upcoming budget. The other item is, that I have a question about, it's for Canal Beach, for the upkeeps and repairs. I just noticed this. It says that we went over budget by just over $10,000. What would that be for?
Yes, so we had to do some final work around there was a walkway that was there. We had to do some concrete work. There was a large gap that was left over for that installation that was done. So that was a big chunk of that money. The other part was we had to change out the hot water heater. It was an on-demand, and it was basically a lot of the sand sediment was getting in the way. So we had to change out the water heater in the canteen as well. So those are really the two big ones, especially the concrete one that was sort of left over from that project that we done a couple years before.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
Councillor
other
Hatt.
thing was the bathrooms was vandalized out there, and the repairs had to be done with that too, so.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, that's passed unanimously. 10, new business. At 10A is the private road designation. I'm looking for a motion for council to designate PID 152-17854 in Utopia as a private unserviced lane, and that name is to be Hollow Drive. I'm going to go to Jason first to just to explain a little bit of this to the public and to council, and then I'll entertain the motion.
Thank you, Your Worship. So PID number 152-17854, it's currently a private lane, private property that needs to be designated as a private road with a road name. Approximate length is 900 meters. This will be part of the Hollows Golf Course housing development. Through some of the mapping, you can see that there's a lot of subdivisions that would have been, I guess, at the old first hole, where there will be houses built for that as part of that development. So, and working with the developer, they've suggested Hollows Drive. We'd look for a motion from council to accept that and to designate that piece of property as a private road.
Good. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion from council. I'm going to go to Councillor Lee, second by Councillor McQuarrie. That the motion is to designate PID 152-17854 in Utopia as a private unserviced lane, and it be named Hollows Drive. That's the motion. Question or comment on the motion? Councillor Hatt, you're first.
Yeah, I had a great conversation today with one of the developers out there, and it's great to hear his plans out there and what they like to do. And I understand this is the first step of getting 911 numbers to be able to, for the development out there as well. Is that correct? So, okay.
Any other questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and it's passed unanimously. 10B is Human Resource Policy Update. I'm going to go to Jason first on this.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this was something that was brought to council previously, just updating our the HR policy, specifically the travel expense. That is I think it's an appendix that's been added to the current HR policy at the end, Schedule B. And so that would have to deal with the kilometer allowances and meal allowances that were adjusted. That was the only thing that was adjusted within the policy. And based off the kilometer allowances is matching much of what G&B, the province of New Brunswick, is now. We do have a bit of a note in there as well that those rates below will be affected with the consumer price index from the previous calendar year. But it's just be Schedule B of the HR policy that's going to be updated.
Great. So at this motion, at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for Policy 01-2025, an update to the Human Resource Policy effective January the 1st. Councillor McQuarrie, seconded by Councillor Tidd. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 10C, this is going to the dogs tonight. Proposed bylaw, EC-13, dog control bylaw. I'll go to Jason on this.
Thank you, Your Worship. So part of regulations with the province is that each local government would have to have a dog control bylaw. So we've waited to do this point, so it needs to be in effect for the end of the 2025 year. So this would start out to move that process along. So this the bylaw has been distributed with council, and this is really mostly dealing with just we've had other draft animal control bylaws, but this is just dealing mostly with the SPCA and dealing with dog licenses that have been in place with both Black's Harbour and St. George. So this will be in Eastern Charlotte, I guess, a dog control bylaw that would be enacted. So we'll need to have a first reading, and I believe it's a second reading maybe tonight.
Good. At this point, I'll entertain a motion that council accept the first reading by title only of bylaw number EC-13, the dog control bylaw. I need a motion for the Councillor Lee, seconded by Councillor Tidd. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, that's passed unanimously. 10C2, the second reading in its entirety. This is the same thing again. Jason, if you want to speak on that again?
Thank you, Worship. So it would be, so we'd be looking for a second reading in its entirety. Of course, bylaw number EC-13, respecting dog control for Eastern Charlotte. We will have printed copies available at the Municipal Hall, as well as a draft will be posted on the website. I guess just one note as well, just to add with this bylaw. So typically, the municipalities have always done licensing right in the office. With this bylaw and working with the SPCA, they have an interface, DocuPet, where residents could then go online and not only license their dog, but also they can get everything from little tags purchased to, tracking collars and everything. So it's very easy to do. I actually did it with my dog the other day, and it's fairly straightforward. So yeah, you can do it, licensing up to 1 to 2 to 3 years in advance. And we'll also, as well as a municipality with this bylaw, allow us to have access to that and get reports from the SPCA to see how many licenses are happening. And we'll see the SPCA throughout 2025 do a little more promotioning on dog licenses as well.
Great. At this time, I'll entertain a motion that council accept the second reading in its entirety of bylaw number EC-13, the dog control bylaw. Deputy Mayor is going to make that motion, seconded by Councillor Lee, I saw first. Question or comment on the motion? Councillor Hatt?
Your Worship, if I can ask our CAO a question. Is there an option of people picking up the stuff at the municipal office from the SPCA versus them having to drive or pay for shipping? I mean, if there's a bunch of orders and they're down this way, or we have a truck that's going, can we do that and they can pick it up local?
Actually, the tags are shipped free of charge. Yeah, right to their address. So there's no charges with the tags. They're little tags that they can actually, if they want to spend a little extra money and get them customized with a lot of different things that people like to buy for their pets, they can do that as well. But they can ship them free of charge. Yeah. But I guess just add to that, if residents are struggling with that online interface, by all means, they can come into the office. We can do it for them.
Great. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. 10D, year-end financial transfers. At this point, I'm going to go to Jason to speak on these couple of transfers we have to make tonight.
Thank you, Worship. So we'll be looking for council to be moved. There's $100,000 from operational reserves that we basically, I think one of the audit statements highlight the fact that we've topped out our operational reserve with our motion of 2023, which is fine, but we're just going to fix that now. So we've taken $100,000 from the operational reserve. It's very healthy reserve. I think $293,000 with operational reserve. So we'll be taking $100,000 and put that into general operations. That'll be the first thing that we'll need to do. And then what I've been looking for from council from then is for our year-end transfers to reserves, moving $450,000 to capital reserves. So it's a lot of money, $450,000, but council, we may remember that there's about $200,000 in that was a development agreement that we were hoping to sign in 2024 that will probably be signed in the first part of 2025. There's that $100,000 that we're moving tonight. There's additional $50,000 that we've received from WorkSafe New Brunswick as a sort of, they've announced a surplus, and there's about $100,000 that's in there for about the surplus, annual surpluses that we typically move at the end of the year. So really two motions needed from council, one to move money from operational reserves and then to move money from operations into capital reserves.
Okay, at this time, council, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the transfer of $100,000 from the general operating reserve fund to the general operating fund. I need a motion for that, Councillor Tidd. Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed. Motion number 2, I'll entertain a motion that council authorize the transfer of $450,000 from the general operating fund to the general capital reserve fund. I need a motion for that. Okay, Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? Hey, Councillor Hatt, you're first.
The WorkSafe NB remittance that we got back, or rebate that we got back, I would hope that we would look at using that towards continuing our good record of good WorkSafe practices in the future.
Good. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, that's passed unanimously. 10E is the terms of reference of St. George Beautification Committee. I don't have a motion for that. Council, what's your wish on this? I don't. Councilor Diderakis, you want to go first?
So I'll first introduce it, because I'm not sure if everyone knows about it. So as council, we received a number of complaints regarding the state of upkeep in St. George, particularly following our amalgamation. It's important to acknowledge that the responsibility for addressing these concerns not just fall on the representatives of St. George, but on the entire council. This presents a unique opportunity for us to come together, take a small yet meaningful step towards enhancing our community's appearance and fostering a welcome environment for both residents and visitors. So with this in mind, I move that council accept the terms of reference for the creation of a beautification committee for St. George, thereby formally establishing the committee to lead these efforts.
We have a motion on the floor. I need a second for that. Councillor McKay. Question or comment? Okay, I'm going to go to Councillor T because I heard you first, and I saw him first, so I'm going to go you because I heard you. Tid.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I'm all for this, but maybe we should look at, like, we have a lot of areas within Eastern Charlotte, a lot of parks. I have a park in my ward. I believe Councillor Macquarie has a park in his area. So maybe if we're going to look at a beautification committee, we should look at it for all of Eastern Charlotte. That would just be my only comment.
Okay, so your suggestion is to change the name of the committee to the Eastern Charlotte Beautification Committee? Is that I'm just going.
Just my comment. I
Yeah,
mean,
just-
if we're going to have a committee for beautification, maybe it should be for all of Eastern Charlotte.
Okay. I'm going to go to Councillor Hatt. You're first.
Yeah, my only question would be is to Councillor Diderakis, so like for instance, like even if they were, as Councillor Tidd said, we had subcommittees in different areas where they have parks and whatnot, but how is that going to look on people coming forward, want to be part of it? Some groups there today look after some stuff, and how's that?
Yeah, so the committee, like if in the
Councillor Diderakis, you have the
Of
floor.
course, yeah. So in the terms of reference, like for the Committee for St. George, it's not just open to the residents of St. George, it's open to everyone. And, talking to people, you would think that, most of the complaints would come from residents, and, a good chunk of them do, but a lot of the concerns come from people that live outside St. George as well, because they frequent the trails in St. George, they walk down Main Street. A lot of people have, like, for example, if we didn't have, I know last year the flower pots weren't filled, and fortunately we have a volunteer, Nancy Rayner, who has spearheaded that initiative and plants them, her and the other volunteers. But this is just a way to help beautify. I don't want to call St. George like the main artery of Eastern Charlotte by any stretch, but it is a space that a lot of people frequent. And I also want to stress that for the beautification committee for St. George, based on last year and presumably for this year as well, the budget for beautification for St. George is just coming from the ratepayers of the former town of St. George. So it wouldn't, having this committee in place wouldn't impact anyone's taxes or, so just, if anything, it's just going to improve the attractiveness of our community.
Question or comments? So you still want to keep this call just the same? So I'm just trying.
I'm open to hear from other people. I think when I spoke to the other the other members of this community beautification committee, they thought it was best to just start small, so just focus in on one area and then eventually expand. But yeah, I'm hearing what Councillor Tidd is saying too. Obviously, there's other areas that need some attention as well. But yeah. The focus of this, I just wrote, as a representative for St. George, I just wrote this as something to help beautify this area.
Councillor McKay, you have the floor.
My thing is, I know Back Bay, I'll use them for example, they have their own committee, and they've done wonders with Back Bay. So maybe if each community had their own committee, right, to beautify their own community, then that would be, like St. George could focus on St. George, Beaver could focus on Beaver, right? So maybe that would work even better.
Question or comment? Councillor Tidd.
I guess my only comment to that, I think there's a budget now line somewhere in there for the areas, and there's probably not a budget line in the other wards, right? In all wards, so that would have to be looked at.
Okay. Okay. Did we get a motion on that, did we? I can't remember writing it down. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, none? That motion's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, that moves on to correspondence, there's none tonight. Number 12, public presentation appearances. Please note, under bylaw EC-01, section 7.1, members of the public shall be entitled to address council for 5 minutes with no debate from council on matters of municipal jurisdiction. I ask you, before you begin, is by giving your name and civic address, just for the record. And during this time, just make sure that we don't make any accusations on any subject, on any subject or to any members of council. None tonight? Going once. Oh. Excellent.
My name's Karen Kernigan. I'm 108 Letitz Road. I just want to say, really impressed with the gazebo. It looks really nice. Whoever is doing the work has done a good job.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think our problem in our community is that we haven't kept up with maintenance over the years. And I think this council and management has a mindset to look after everybody. We're Eastern Charlotte. I would like to be on this committee that we're talking about, but not just for St. George. Everybody's paying taxes, and everybody deserves to have their area look nice and neat. And I don't see any favoritism here in this council. And so I would say there's probably a budget, and everybody should get their fair share. That's my opinion.
Great. Thank you very much for coming in tonight, Karen. I appreciate it. Next. Who's next? Nobody? Gone twice. Going. I wasn't looking at you, Sam. But you disappointed me. All right, now we'll go to number 13, statements from members of the council. I'll just start first. It's been a great Christmas season in Eastern Charlotte, and there's many lights and decorations throughout Eastern Charlotte Public Works crew in Black Harbor have that area totally lit up. I encourage everybody to take a drive to Black Harbor. It is very magical in the harbor. Here in St. George, Eastern Charlotte Public Works have done a phenomenal job as well, lighting up this part of Eastern Charlotte. Our Public Works crew, it is my hope over Christmas, and I'm speaking to each of you directly, that each and every one of you have a quiet time with all your families, and I hope we don't get any storms, that we need you cleaning the streets and the roads. We have a wonderful Public Works crew, and hopefully we won't get any snow, what they're calling for over the next few days. A big shout out to all the great staff of the Eastern Charlotte Municipal Hall. Kathy Neves, Bambi Scott Levitt, Kara Hatt is here tonight, Chris McKinnon's here tonight, Amy Carter, Fire Chief Justin Johnson, and of course our CEO, Jason Gaudette. May all of you feel the warmth of our Christmas season. And to all our volunteer firefighters, which I spoke of earlier of Eastern Charlotte, it is my hope that your holiday season is quiet and safe. You are the true heroes of our area. You and your family sacrifice so much to protect all of us, and I can't begin to thank you enough. And as we leave tonight, I want to take this opportunity to wish council a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We have a great team here as a council, and even though we don't always agree on every issue, we agree to disagree. At the end of the day, we always leave as friends and wanting to do what is best for the entire municipality of Eastern Charlotte. Every family has its arguments, and at the end of the day, we're still a family. I want to wish all residents of Eastern Charlotte a very Merry Christmas. Please take time with all your families, for our time is never assured. I hope you're all surrounded with love and good fortune. One last thing, on January the 1st, 2025, New Year's Day, I will be hosting the second annual Eastern Charlotte Mayor's Levy here at Macadavic Place from 2 to 4. I encourage everybody to attend. It's a great chance to get out of the house and meet other people. And at this, I will be presenting the winners of the Hometown Heroes Awards with our new MLA, Ian Lee, who will be here assisting me. And Pastor and Chaplain Paul Legier will be here as well, helping me out. This afternoon, and I really mean this, and I just wrote this really quickly because I like to make sure I say it right. I attended the Community Living Center Christmas party. And this is one event I love attending every year. For all the members of the center are so exciting to be with. Each one of them have unconditional love in their eyes and happiness. My children are all grown up now, and attending the event makes my Christmas just to see the happiness and excitement in all their faces. It will make anybody feel good, even on your worst day. We are so fortunate to have the Community Living Center in Eastern Charlotte, and I want to thank Laura Lee Carrier and all our staff for doing an exceptional job with this group. I'm going to go to the Deputy Mayor next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and budget-wise, I believe we're going to have a public consultation night. Did we pick a date on that, Jason? Not yet, so sometime the first of the year, so keep your eyes and ears open for that. It will be posted. Thank you.
Stay tuned. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Hatt.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, here we go. So first off, I'm going to say I'm sorry for the last 2 months of missing 2 council meetings. My work schedule just, well, really it was around the clock. So anyway, I'm here for the December one. So here in December already, it's been 12 months of 2024. The Andrew Bartlett Memorial Tournament was held in both St. Andrews and Blacks Harbor arenas for our local minor hockey on the weekend of November 21st to 24th. We had many players, fans, volunteers throughout Eastern Charlotte, everywhere. There was teams even so far as Bathurst were down here. And you know, being a young fella that played hockey, I love seeing them teams traveling back in our area. Helps when we have hotels that are open again, which is great to see for our community. If we want people to come and play into our sports and support our local businesses while we're here, we've got to have places for them to stay. So it is nice to see the hotel accommodating with that again. I want to say thank you to everybody that made that tournament a huge success, because it is an influx of spending in our area, no matter where, when we have tournaments like that. So it's a win-win. I'm not sure that, I know my young fellas 2 teams, we never got the win-win, but hey, listen, the community did. So I'm very pleased to say that we're in the final phase of our arena upgrades. This has been a big project, and I want to say thank you to everybody that's helped out with that, and that list is very, very long. I do want to say thank you, a special thank you to Bambi Scott. She's been the person that's holded that purse of money and held us accountable, and when we go and want, or the CAO would go and ask where we are on budget, where things are, how much are left in accounts, how much does this cost. Anytime, Bambi's always there ready to go and give us an answer. So it's great to have that support. Upgrades will continue into the new year, and we are going to give out a release of where we are today with funds left over, where we've been, and what we've spent to do it so far. And I got to be honest, we've done it in, I don't want to say the Johnny Cash special, but we definitely have nickel and dimed. Anybody that knows me, I love to barter, so, and we'll continue to do that to make the money go as far as we can. So all the doors have been changed. I know we're working through some challenges with them right now and getting it finalized, but it'll be nice to have a fully working door so you don't have to slam and beat and get out. I know even some people here in the audience played lots of hockey over the years. Glenn slamming the doors, getting in and out, I'm sure. So there was a new outlet put in the timekeeper's box. This was great because this actually came from a group of kids between the age of 14 to 16. and plugs into the timekeepers, and their clock kept going in and out. The power would flicker in and out, and they'd have to reset the clock, and it was getting pretty frustrating for them. So, man, I love when youth start coming forward and say they've got ideas too. So, the stick holders are now all in place. They've been there for a little while outside of the dressing rooms. I know there was an ask for them to be inside, but for safety and ease with the coaches, putting the sticks on the outside is pretty common at other changing rooms. The whiteboards are in the dressing rooms. The ladies' changing room and washroom is there and completed. It's nice to see that finally have the checkbox and get completed. So, the cameras are all installed. I know that there's some conversation on social media. They are there. It has been a massive project. You got to remember the facility never had a live streaming Wi-Fi connection ever. So that is in now. We have Wi-Fi there, and we're working with a website company now to get the installation and a camera that somebody can log in and see if their grandchildren or wherever want to watch. So anyway, that's definitely on the priority for the new year, right, CAO? November ended with the Christmas Kickoff Festival, and it was a great success. I myself was not able to make it of a work commitment, but I can tell you what I seen on social media, no matter where you are, there was a lot of people that were very, very grateful to have it. And I know there was some changes and then another change that happened, but to be honest, when we set the plans out 6 months ago and look at traffic management and safety and volunteers to turn on an event like that to make sure that it's a safe and a great event, we never thought we were going to lose the Main Street Bridge in the mix of that. So we thought we had something through together. We had some people that had reached out and said that they had big floats and going down the highway doesn't really make sense to get to the other side of town. You know what? That's correct. So let's change it. So I want to say thank you for the people that reached out and give a different idea. We're always here listening. Don't mean that just because we make the decision the first time that we can't amend it. We always got time. I also would like to say a couple special thank you mentions to, once again, Eastern Charlotte Fire Rescue. Hands down, anytime that we have events, you guys are there for our first aid and public traffic. I mean, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to look at organizing events without you guys, so I appreciate it. The Public Works, this year, I know we put some extra strain on them with traffic management. We went through 2 busy intersections this year. We usually try not to do that if we can help it. So a lot of them had to work and help, and I appreciate that. And most of them were up early that morning cleaning some roads. So I want to thank the CAO and the staff at Eastern Charlotte. Listen, we got one great team, and I don't know where we'd be without that team. I do want to say thank you to the RCMP for showing up and giving the escorts for it and helping for the events, not only for the Christmas parade, but for throughout the year. I know I speak for all of us, and we do, and we truly thank everybody. Both Blacks Harbor and St. George are both lit up for Christmas. I do encourage everybody to get out for a drive and drive through each one of the municipalities. I do know that there's other places obviously lit up, but the 2 old municipalities are definitely lit up for Christmas quite well this year. It doesn't mean that we can't do better. And social media is a nasty thing sometimes, let's be honest. Eastern Charlotte Recreation Complex will be closing Christmas Day Wednesday to Boxing Day Thursday, so the 25th and 26th, and New Year's Day. Just New Year's Day. So I just want to make sure it wasn't the eve. So we also will be hosting some extra free skating, pucks and sticks. So please check out the Eastern Charlotte Parks and Rec page for them dates and times. And with our tradition, I've heard some chat that we weren't doing the one in Blacks Harbor with the old sleigh. I'm not sure where them rumors are coming from, but I will tell you that will be happening as long as we don't end up with 5 feet of snow, even though I know me and Councillor McCory would like that. But we will be having it. It'll be there Christmas Eve, like always, in the Blacks Harbor Park with the sled that's almost 100 years old.
Are you saying Santa can't come in the snow?
I have a snowmobile if Santa still needs to make it in the snow, that's for sure.
I'm pretty sure that's where he comes from.
That's right. So Christmas Eve, 2 to 3 o'clock, 2 to 3, so an hour he'll be in the park. Before that, we'll be going to the nursing home in Blacks Harbor to bring some cheer to the residents there. So, and lastly, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hatt. Councilor Dederek, you're next.
We're in budget season, so there's a lot of talk here, and I don't want to ramble. But, you know, I believe, Deputy Mayor, you mentioned it, next month, we're going to be likely be passing the budget. We'll be having public presentations before then. And I just want to iron out some things before we get there. For the sake of transparency, I've requested that all meetings regarding the 2025 budget are recorded for viewing, if one was interested. I've been told that this was not permitted without a motion. Secondly, in terms of who presents the budget to the public, we had a conversation last night. You know, we talked about how either the deputy mayor or the mayor would present the budget to the public. Of all the municipalities I've seen, it's either the CAO or the CFO who presents this, and I don't see any reason for this to be an exception in this case. So I would, Your Worship, like to amend the agenda to add a new item under new business.
What, for tonight, you mean?
For tonight?
No, we can't do that, no.
Okay, why not?
We have to do that at the first of the meeting. In order to amend the agenda, you have to do it at the first of the meeting, so we can't do it.
But there's been several times which that was not the case.
No. It's already been approved, so, no. If we did it in the past, it was wrong, so.
So just to be clear, you cannot put a motion.
That's correct. That's
okay.
correct.
So I guess I can't put a motion that that any future budget discussions we have are not going to be recorded. That will be recorded. Is that correct? So I can't put a motion out
I
for
already
it.
answered your question 3 times.
Okay. Just to be clear, yeah. Well, thank you. That's it.
Councilor McQuarrie. Councilor Lee.
Just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. Thanks for coming in, and stay safe over the holidays.
Good, thank you. Councilor Tidd.
Just a couple things. I'd like to thank everyone for also showing up tonight. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. In regards to policing, this is going to be it is a big, and it always will be big, cost to the residents here in Eastern Charlotte. I put a motion on the floor of council probably over a year and a half ago that we look at all of our options when it comes to policing. We've had meetings with the prior public safety minister in that regard. I think when Eastern Charlotte, our community, is paying $2.3 million with an increase this year of 3.5% in that budget, we need to look at all of our options. To me, that means approaching the new government, the new Minister of Public Safety, and see if we have any other options. I know other communities are looking at their options. I would suggest that we start looking at ours. 30% of an overall budget for municipality for policing costs is just atrocious in my opinion. Yes, we need it, it's important, but $2.3 million, I think we can do it a lot cheaper than that myself, personally. The only other comment that I would have, I think we need to get serious around this table when it comes to economic development. The only way to grow our tax base, we need somebody working for economic development full-time. I think we need to really look at that next year. I know we've struggled with it. What would be the best option? But I think we need to come to a consensus around this table, and we need to get this going. The only way we're going to get the tax rates lower, we need to grow our base assessments and tax rates are at our all-time high across this province, and the only way to combat some of that is to grow the tax base. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Councilor Tidd. Councilor McKay, you're next.
I just want to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Great, thank you. The next item tonight is 14, the date and location of the next regular meeting of council, and that will be January the 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m. right here at McDavid Place. I look for a motion for adjournment. Councilor Tidd, thank you very much. Thank you guys for coming out tonight.